New Orleans, 1918. A city of late-night music and open windows in the summer heat. A grocer and his wife are found bludgeoned in their home, no valuables stolen, a wood-handled axe left behind, and a chiseled panel in the back door where someone quietly removed the slat to reach the lock. Neighbors heard nothing but the hum of the night and distant jazz. This was not the first time a killer had used an axe in the city, but it would mark the start of a relentless pattern that stretched across a year, leaving the public terrified and the police chasing ghosts. Between May 1918 and late 1919, a series of nighttime attacks targeted households across New Orleans and nearby communities. Many victims were Italian-American grocers and their families. The attacks generally occurred in the early hours, often on weekends and sometimes in clusters, keeping the city on edge. The intruder's calling card was methodical, a wooden door panel carefully removed with a chisel or similar tool, allowing a hand to slip in and turn the latch. Windows were sometimes used, too, but the panel removal became a hallmark detail, suggesting planning and comfort with quiet break-ins. The axe was almost always taken from the victim's home, lifted from a shed, or found near the back porch. That choice mattered. It kept the killer from being stopped while carrying a weapon and hinted at a calculated, opportunistic approach. Often, the axe was left at the scene, smeared and silent. Despite sensational headlines about burglars, valuables commonly remained in plain sight. Cash in drawers, jewelry on dressers untouched. The brutality seemed personal, yet there was no clear link among many of the families beyond occupation and neighborhood. It looked less like theft and more like ritual or compulsion. In March 1919, a letter allegedly from the Axeman was published in local papers. It taunted police and declared that on a specified night, any home playing jazz loudly would be spared. That evening, dance halls overflowed, bands played past midnight, and a city turned fear into defiance. The letter's author remains unconfirmed, and many historians believe it could have been a hoax. But the stunt etched itself into folklore and welded the Axeman to New Orleans' musical identity forever. Not all victims died. Several survived with devastating injuries, offering fragmented glimpses of the attacker. A shadowy figure, a quick silhouette, sometimes described as tall, sometimes not, sometimes wearing a hat, sometimes bareheaded. Descriptions very typical in high-stress, low-light trauma. What survivors agreed on was speed and silence. The intruder struck fast and vanished faster. A handful of suspects emerged. Drifters, locals with grudges, even a few scapegoated by rumor and bias. Some were arrested on thin evidence. Others were discussed in the press as potential butchers or jealous rivals. But every promising thread frayed. No fingerprints that led anywhere, no consistent eyewitness to anchor a lineup, and no confession that matched all the details. Criminologists warn that we sometimes draw straight lines through dotted points. Were all these attacks the work of one person? The M.O., forced entry by panel removal, household axes, nighttime assaults, Italian-American grocers, suggests common authorship. Yet copycats and everyday burglaries with violent outcomes were not rare in early 20th century cities. The Axeman might have been one killer, several, or one who inspired others. Forensics in 1918 to 1919 lacked today's tools. No DNA, limited latent print analysis, and inconsistent crime scene preservation. Police resources were stretched. Some neighborhoods distrusted authorities and hesitated to share information. Newspaper drama both helped and hindered, generating tips, but also flooding investigators with noise. Eventually, the attacks slowed, then stopped. The city exhaled cautiously, and the case slipped into legend. Locking doors and windows wasn't common in steamy New Orleans nights, and many homes had weak rear entries. The case underscores how routine vulnerabilities can become patterns in victim selection. It also shows the power and danger of media narratives. Fear can both mobilize communities and stampede them toward false certainty. A century later, the Axeman remains a riddle, a figure built from splinters of wood, a borrowed blade, and a city's heartbeat set to jazz. Some legends fade. This one keeps walking.